to be exporting to African countries. Excellent. The Honorable Minister also said local content. Believe in what we say. Thank you, Dr. Ekwen, for that. And the DG said we need to be focused. We need to ensure that we meet standards. Excellent. These are the things we need. AFICTA is committed to creating jobs, and we are partnering with all others, Galaxy, DG, NIDA, NCC, everyone, under the auspices of the Ministry of Communication to ensure that Nigeria leads the way. As I conclude, same 18 years ago, when we look at the indices, you see Nigeria at maybe around 40 out of 53 African countries, now 54 African countries. In penetration, in teledensity, in what have you. But today, it's a different story. Nigeria is number one in Africa when it comes to teledensity. I thought we were going to appreciate that. Nigeria is number one when it comes to internet penetration in Africa. Of course, the GDP is number one at 520 billion. So Nigeria has all the potential. And so we want to appreciate the Minister of Communication, the DG leader for eNIgeria, all those working to ensure that the vision is sustained. Thank you very much. AFICTA is here with us. Please join us. We are partners in progress. And as the event continues, please pay attention and add value to eNIgeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the last but not the least, I am not going to attempt to call on Sir Ademola Komo, the guru of ICT in Nigeria, to deliver applause. You're welcome, sir.
The Honorable Minister, Barrister Adebayo Shito, a Nigerian in green and white. A good one for that. The DG of NIDA, Dr. Isa Patami. Last year I was in this hall and we had the VP. I thought that was the height of eNigeria for the past couple of years that we've been attending it. Today we have the president, and I believe we are going places. Please, a big round of applause for the Minister of Communications and NIDA. I'm very happy with our country. We are making a lot of progress. I do not have any fear. A lot of statistics have been given. I believe our people are up and running, and we can see it with what we are doing here today. By 2050, we're going to have 411 million people in the country. It's going to become the third largest economy in the world. I'm sure we are all familiar with that. A very huge market for us. And I believe our children, our colleagues, are all ready to tap into this. I do not have any doubt at all. And you can see it with what you've done in the past couple of years in the environment, with the remittance of this world, with the BVM projects that has been done. I believe the future is very bright. I thank Minister of Communications and NIDA for this. This morning we were there seated and we were thinking the next phase is to create jobs. We need to create those millions of jobs, and I believe the ideas are here for us to create those jobs and get our children off the streets, and I believe we're going to get that done. Thank you so much. A very good organization. Thanks.
With permission from my Honorable Minister and my able and indefatigable DG, I ask that we give 2 minutes to the representative of the academia to give us a goodwill message. We have here in our midst the VC, Federal University of Gashua, Yobe State, Professor Andrew Haruna. Professor Andrew Haruna, please, can you come forward to give us your goodwill message? A round of applause for the academia, please. You're welcome, sir.
I stand on the existing protocols. Where to catch them young is in the university. All of us who are doing exploit in the ICT are products of the university. And I'm so excited to be here. I came with the director ICT of my university, and we are going back home not as we came in. This is because of the vision of the Minister of Communications and the DG NITDA. I want to say that as you have gotten this vision, let it navigate the entire system, because this is where the revolution is. Even in the university, science or research products without the ICT, they cannot be visible. Therefore, I want to congratulate you. I also want to tell you that we would be very happy that you partner with us in the university by developing our ICT centers, because this is where the brain is. And when you say catch them young, and let us use Nigerian content, Nigerian graduates and undergraduates are doing a lot of beautiful things, as I have seen on the stand. So, Honorable Minister, sir, our DG NITDA, I want to congratulate you for this wonderful revolution which you have started in Nigeria. God bless you. Thank you.
On that note, we say thank you to all our friends and partners. One more. The representative of the governor of Benue State, Mr. Lawrence Onoja. The minister has given you a fiat clearance. So it is my pleasure to call on you to deliver your goodwill message from Benue State, all the way from Benue State. A round of applause, please. Thank you. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister for Communication, the DG NITDA, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start by appreciating and congratulating the Minister for Communication, the DG of NITDA and his team for this astute initiative. The noble aim of the eNIgeria 2017, which is to brainstorm on current and relevant IT issues across the globe with the aim of leveraging on them for sustainable socio-economic development of Nigeria, and this can never be overemphasized. Previous editions of the eNIgeria has led to an elevated awareness and ICT development amongst governments and private institutions, as well as individuals in the country, which has led to an unprecedented growth in this sector. Like the Honorable Minister earlier mentioned, it has of the country's GDP. Based on this, the Benue State government, under the able leadership of His Excellency Samuel Otom, ICT equipment and gadgets for the training of information officers in ministries, departments, and agencies in Benue State. The Benue State government also, in collaboration with the National Information and Technology Development Agency, also collaborated in the development of the state ICT policy. Collaboration with NIDA for the establishment of the Benue State Information Technology Development Agency, BIDDA, the bill which has already passed its second reading in the Benue State House of Assembly. Partnership with the Federal Ministry of Communications Technology and the Rockefeller Foundation for the training of over 1,500 unemployed youths drawn from the 23 local government areas of Benue State. Provision of land to NCC for the establishment of Digital Bridge Institute in Benue State. Partnership with the Benue State University Directorate Governor in Nigeria to bear this responsibility. 2017 Annual Information Technology and Trade Exhibition, Nation's Economic Diversification through ICT. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Even though I had earlier capped the goodwill messages, I have been directed to recognize in our midst the delegation from Estonia, all the way from Estonia. They flew in for this event. Please stand up to be recognized, and may we have a goodwill message from one of the delegates from Estonia. We have from Estonia Mr. Riho Korg and Mr. Raul Kaidro. Please stand to be recognized. The delegation from Estonia. You're welcome. Please, a round of applause for the gentleman. A round of applause, please. We are Nigerians. We are a warm people. We are a welcoming people. But we have 2 minutes of goodwill messages from Estonia.
Was unexpected.
Yeah, so just say something.
What exactly?
All right. Hello. I'm really delighted to be here, and I'm really happy to see the progress that that Nigeria is actually trying to kind of make in order to get themselves some sort of a set of e-services and continue the digitalization of the nation. It is very important to understand that you have to set a goal, you have to have an aim, you have to have a plan in order to continue with a really productive way of digitalization. I will present my ideas tomorrow on a special dedicated speech, but for the moment, I thank you so much for coming, and I expect you to see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, representative from Estonia. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we will take the last goodwill message, and then we'll move on with the program. It is my pleasure and my honor to call on the representative of the Nigeria Computer Society, Dr. Titi Akinlade. Dr. Titi Akinlade, you are welcome, ma. A round of applause, please. She represents the president of NCS, who is a partner and a friend of NITDA. Dr. Titi Akinlade, you are welcome, ma.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister of Communication, DG of NITDA, Dr. Issa Pantami, all honorable and executive representatives here present. On behalf of the President of NCS, Nigeria Computer Society, who is unavoidably absent because he's out of the country, I wish to congratulate NIGDA for this edition of eNigeria. As you all know, NCS, Nigeria Computer Society, is the umbrella organization of all IT practitioners and organizations. And we have been partnering with NIGDA since its inception. I make bold to say that NCS and others were instrumental to the formation of NIGDA. We are very proud of what's happening. We say kudos to you all. We also want to congratulate the federal government and appreciate them for their support, especially support in terms of ease of doing business, executive orders, especially those on local content. As my colleague, the ISPON president, had said earlier, Nigerians are equipped to provide all the IT technology, software systems, support that you need in this country. We don't need to look abroad. And it's not surprising when you look at the movers and shakers of the big technology companies, Facebook, Google, name them, there's a sizable number of Nigerians helping them. We can deploy those, we can attract them to help Nigeria move forward. We stand ready as NCS, and I think I speak on behalf of all IT practitioners here and all IT companies, that we stand ready to assist Nigeria. Let's move this digital economy forward. Thank you once again for this opportunity. Congratulations to the Honorable Minister, and congratulations to the DG of NIGDA. Thank you very much.
At this juncture, we shall be moving to the practical aspects of this occasion, technology, which is why we are really gathered here. It is my pleasure and honor to call on the first group to pitch their innovation before our distinguished guests today, this afternoon. The Beat Drone Group are here to pitch their software which supports e-agriculture. Their innovation supports e-agriculture. Beat Drone Group, please. You're welcome. A round of applause for our young innovators.
Good day, distinguished guests. My name is Confidence. I'm the founder of BitDrone. BitDrone seeks to solve a problem that affects mankind globally. We see that globally we have over 1 billion people that are hungry. That means that 1 in every 6 humans on earth is hungry. Tailoring down to Nigeria, the United Nations estimates that 5.1 million Nigerians will die this year of hunger. What's the problem? Why are we not being able to provide food for these people? The United Nations Agricultural and Food Administration estimates that farmers in developing countries such as Nigeria harvest 30% to 50% of their crops during harvest period. So that means that our farmers in Nigeria lose 70 to 50% of their crops at the point of harvest. This is due to so many reasons, such as the inability to engage in health inspections, the inefficiency of spraying of chemicals by humans. At BitDrone, our goal is to stop that and enable farmers to harvest 100% of their crops. We implement drones such as this in the day-to-day activities of farmers, enabling them to spray over large hectares of farmland for herbicides to kill weeds at the shortest possible time. That means our drones can be able to spray 100 to 200 hectares of land down to 1,000 hectares of land within 1 to 2 days, as opposed to the 2-man spraying operation that takes 1 full day to cover a hectare. Our drones are also engaging in the farms to enable farmers to get real-time information of the health of their crops. It enables this farmer to apply immediate remedy to save that crop from dying. BitDrone also engages in thermal inspections to enable these farmers to understand how they can engage in irrigation. Our goal is to reduce the crops debt at the farm and engage farmers to increase their harvest, thus improving their revenue and reducing the cost of food in the open markets. To date, we have over 1,800 hectares of land being operable in 7 states, and we are about to expand through a partnership with the Rice Farm Association of Nigeria to get over 30,000 hectares of land. We want to work with the Ministry of Agriculture in order to be able to provide these services to more farmers, in order for us to secure our food security and advance our agricultural sector. Bidron to date would be able to assist farmers to earn more money, reduce the cost of food in the open markets, and make food available and accessible to Nigerians, thus stopping importation of food and being dependent totally on our locally produced foods. The future is drone for the farmers, and the future is agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nneka Okachuku. I'll be calling up the next startup group. We have the eNIgeria. They will be pitching a product that deals with e-culture and education. eNIgeria, please come on stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All protocols duly observed. My name is Valentine Ubalwa, and I am the founder of eNIgeria. There is a war we are losing in Africa. According to UNESCO, over 37 African languages have gone into extinction. UNESCO also stated that the Igbo language is currently considered as an endangered language, meaning that if we don't pass our culture, our heritage to our kids, the Igbo language might go into extinction. You will agree with me that Nigeria has over 500 languages, but the kids of our time today barely can even mention up to 50 languages. So what happened to the other 450 Nigerian languages? This is a battle we are losing silently, and we are not even aware of it. There's also a popular adage that says that a people without the knowledge of the past history, culture, heritage, and language is like a tree without its roots. At eNIgeria, we are currently addressing this problem by promoting and preserving Africa's rich culture, heritage, and language through African-inspired cartoons. Our video-on-demand platform has over 500 hours of content deeply rooted in our culture, in our history, and our language. I'm happy to inform you that today, we are currently reaching over 2 million kids and youth in Africa who are learning about our culture, the Igbo, the Yoruba, the Hausa, the Urhobo, the Swahili, and so many African languages. We're currently in partnership with MTN, who is also helping us in the distribution of this content via the network. Today, we've also partnered with Digital Bridge Institute, a subsidiary of NCC, who we are collaborating together to promote our indigenous languages through the Cinema for Kids Weekend Family Fun Fair. According to Business Wire reports, the global animation industry was valued at over $450 billion US. But it will shock you that the entire Africa, not Nigeria, the entire Africa combined together owns less than 1% of this market. This shows a huge market opportunity and potential for African animation. My team is comprised of 6 passionate individuals with over 20 years combined industry experience, and we are currently raising 100 million naira to enable us fund local African animators. Our Nigerian animators are skilled, but they don't have the equipment and the manpower to churn out very quality cartoons that can be sold both locally and internationally. Remember, we are trying to solve a major problem, which is the preservation of our language, our courage, our heritage, and our values. We are also generating revenue. Currently, we have trained over 500 Nigerian animators. So those Nigerian youths that don't have, that are looking for jobs are now skilled and trained, and are currently doing animations for both local and international clients. We are projecting that by the next 5 years, we should be making 1 billion naira in revenue with 1 million subscribers. Please, I implore you, our parents, our uncles, our daddies, to please invest in our youths so that we can preserve our culture and our heritage. Thank you very much.
Certainly, there is no dearth of knowledge, IT knowledge in this country, as has been demonstrated by just 2 of our young innovators. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we move into the plenary. We move into the plenary sessions. And I'm going to call up the presenter, the panelists, and the moderator to please come and take their seats. The topic for this session is an analysis of the social and economic benefits of a sustainable education technology ecosystem. And the presenter is Mr. Chinenye Mba Uzoku, Managing Partner, Grand Central, Lagos. Can you come up the stage, please, sir? Mr. Chinenye Mba Uzoku. The first presentation by Mr. Chinenye Mba Uzoku. This one. Sorry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm just getting information that Mr. Chinenye Mba Uzoku is not making the presentation. The presentation is actually going to be made by my lecturer. There is no such thing as a former lecturer. Once your lecturer, always your lecturer. My lecturer, Professor S.B. Junaidu, from the Department of Computer Science, ABU Zaria, the biggest and the best university south of the Sahara. You're welcome, sir. The presentation, once again, is an analysis of the social and economic benefits of a sustainable education technology ecosystem. And moderating this session is the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Architect Sonny Echono. Architect Sonny Echono, or his representative from the Federal Ministry of Education. The first panelist is Dr. Bashir Galadanchi of the Department of Computer Science, Bayero University, Kano. Please, a round of applause for him. Also on this panel is Mrs. Dele Tejuosho, Director, Wi-Fi Combat Academy, Lagos. Mrs. Dele Tejuosho, please come up. A round of applause for Mrs. Dele Tejuosho, Director, Wi-Fi Combat Academy, Lagos. We also have on this panel Professor Salihu Shehu from the Bayero University, Kano. Professor Salihu Shehu, please can you come up? Professor Salihu Shehu from the Bayero University, Kano, or his representative. And the moderator for this session is Mr. Chinenye Mba Uzoku. Mr. Uzoku, please, can you come up? You're welcome. Once again, the topic for this session is an analysis of the social and economic benefits of a sustainable education technology ecosystem. And the presenter is Professor Junaidu from the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. You are welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the lapses. I thought I will use my laptop so that I can be in charge of my presentation. I hope they will be able to go at my pace. So the topic of my presentation is, as given, an analysis of the social and economic benefits education. Next slide, please. So next slide provides the outline of my presentation. I will start with an introduction. Yes, I will start with an introduction, and then I will talk briefly about educational technology ecosystem, what are the elements, and then I will talk about the requirements across the elements, and then I will talk about EduTech in Nigeria. Where do we stand? Because we need to know. The previous contributors have made a lot of comments regarding progress Nigeria is making, so I will just want to give a personal assessment of where we are on that. And then I will mention some strategies for promoting educational technology diffusion in Nigeria. And then I will mention some social and economic benefits as a basis for the analysis by the panelists. Next slide. In the next slide, I have what you may consider as a statement of the problem, which was given in the abstract of the letter by the organizers. They say that Nigerians, and indeed peoples of other nationalities, they desire an equal opportunity education system for every eligible learner, and that is qualitative. So there is a problem. Everybody needs equal access of quality education, irrespective of their own advantaged or disadvantaged positions. However, in Nigeria, the statistics available do not support that demand, or they show that that need is yet to be realized. And consequently, what is the option? Again, according to the organizers, the only option that is available for most families is the first, second, and third option, as they said, is private education. Because there is low quality and there is inadequate capacity and much more in the public education sector, which is subscribed only to those who cannot afford the first, second, and third alternative. Next slide. So next slide says that all is not lost. There is something out there that can provide perhaps a magic, if you like. They say a robust educational technology ecosystem will provide those two things that we are missing: equity in access as well as quality education. This again is what is provided for by the presenters. It's all in the abstract given to us for analysis and discussion. So we have a need which is not met, backed by statistics on the one hand, and we have a potential that is guaranteed, so to speak, on the other. So there is problem and there is solution. So we are home and dry. In addition, not only will it provide solution to those two problems, but it will also have some other added advantage that will increase our earnings. Some of the earlier commentators have said many things. Perhaps we will elaborate on them during the analysis. For example, one of the goodwill presenters said that we should not rely on our oil and other natural resources because they are not the things that will develop economies of tomorrow. So given the promise of this robust educational technology that has the promise to solve the problem, as educators or as researchers, we will want to probe it further. We want to know, next slide. Are you moving with me? I am on slide 6, please. So given the promise, are you there? Slide 6, please. Yes. So given the promise of a robust educational technology ecosystem, we need to investigate what makes a robust educational technology, because that is what they say will solve our problem. And what are its dimensions and who are the key players? We need to probe it. What are its prerequisites, if it has any? How can we promote it in Nigeria, or do we have it? And many other questions. Slide 7. Slide 7 is nothing other than a definition so that we can contextualize our discussion. We are talking about educational technology, which we say holds the promise of what we want. So we need to at least have a working definition so that we understand and appreciate what it means, or we have some common ground. Of course, there are a number of definitions of educational technology, but I take this from the Association of Educational Communications and Technology, which says that educational technology is the study and ethical practice. So it's a theory and practice. Theory and practice for facilitating learning and improving performance using technology. So basically, in simple terms, educational technology is a theory and a practice, not only mere practice, ethical practice, for facilitating quality learning using technology. So at the heart of it is technology. Slide 8, please. So remember, in the third or fourth slide, the educational technology that holds the promise for us is that which is robust. And what I'm saying here is that what is that robust educational technology that holds the promise? So what I'm saying here, it is not given. It doesn't perform magic. It doesn't come by magic. It has certain prerequisites. And these prerequisites are, I am identifying 5 based on what is available in the literature: leadership, infrastructure, teaching, learning, and assessment. This quintuple form what you may consider a robust educational technology ecosystem, provided that some of the things I will mention regarding each one of them are in place. Slide 9. I will say 1 or 2 things about leadership and what is required there, so that we know, as I said, that quality educational technology that gives us those things that we lack, especially in Nigeria. It doesn't come automatically, and it has these 5 components. First one is leadership. And in leadership, of course, everything rests on leadership. So this is natural. So a strong leadership is required that creates a shared vision. It's not one man that will make, one man or one woman that will lead to that magic. There has to be leadership to create a vision that is shared by all stakeholders. And they should also provide leadership in the implementation of that shared vision. And that leadership also, apart from the vision and the strategies for implementing the vision, there must also be recognition for building capacity. Many people have mentioned many things also with respect to capacity. The capacity here we are talking about here is specifically for creating and maintaining technology infrastructure. We will talk about infrastructure also as a separate dimension. And there are many other things with respect to leadership. Ensure availability of ongoing and job-embedded training for the teachers. Teachers also form one of the pillars of a robust educational technology that we'll talk about. Developing funding models and plans for sustainable technology purchases. When you have everything in place, certainly you must have sustainability. In fact, that is what is echoed in the title of the presentation. You can have it today, but once there are no plans for sustainability, it will not be the kind of educational technology that will take us to the promised land. There must be promotion of research and use of educational technology in order to impact practice. This is basically what I will say with respect to leadership. And we can say more perhaps in the course of the analysis. The next dimension for an educational technology ecosystem is infrastructure. And the goal here is that there must be a robust and comprehensive state-of-the-art infrastructure for educational technology to thrive, because that is the backbone on which technology rides. And this infrastructure has also a number of components, ubiquitous connectivity, high-quality digital learning, powerful learning devices, and responsible use policies. I'm on slide 11, please. Slide 12. So I think these are self-explanatory. Slide 11. If we go back to slide 11, please. Connectivity should always be there, in and out of school for both the educator and the students. And high-quality learning content is part of infrastructure that has all the necessary elements to provide all the good practices that are required for quality learning. Powerful learning devices. When you have the infrastructure, you have to provide the devices that people require to access, to ride on the infrastructure in order to access those quality contents, and so on. I will skip that and then go to the needs dimension, which is number 3, which is teaching. According to Chetty 2011, he said that research indicates that teachers have the biggest impact on student learning. And I believe this is something that is not debatable. So therefore, learners must be adequately prepared in order to provide the promise for educational technology. Some of these requirements are: teachers must have the belief and confidence that educational technology can make a difference. Otherwise, they will not put their money or their efforts where their mouth is. And another requirement is resistance to change is there. So that also has to be overcome. And teachers must be technology savvy, because in this new paradigm, it is technology that guides and directs everything. So therefore, the drivers must themselves be adequately prepared. And teaching with technology, again, these are the prerequisites. They need empowerment with training and continuous professional development. And again, the teachers must be skillful in the arts of teaching for all ranges. They must be skillful in pedagogy, where they are able now to manage child or dependent learners. They must be skillful in andragogy, where they are able to manage and assist independent adult learners. Slide 15, I'm on slide 15. And they should also be skillful in what they call heutagogy, where they are able to also manage and assist learners who control their own pace in learning. Next is learning. Perhaps I can, please guide me on how much time I have so that I can, Okay, so at least I have, you remember that I said that this ecosystem has 5 components. I have just talked about 3, so let me skip the others. There is assessment. Of course, you will see that the learning or the students will be our target. So towards the end, most of what we will be talking about will be referent to the students because they are our product. And assessment is essential. So what is the role of technology? How can we use technology? What are the requirements for using technology? What we may not be able to test without technology. So again, there are a number of requirements there. Okay, educational technology in Nigeria. So we have outlined what are the prerequisites. So where are we now? Where do we stand in Nigeria with respect to those essential elements and requirements? Regarding leadership, I am saying that there are a number of initiatives in Nigeria, efforts by the National Open University, establishment of distance learning, so many initiatives to promote access specifically here. But what I'm saying here, I'm on slide 21. I'm sorry, I'm not used to this. I'm used to controlling my own pace. So bear with me, I'm on slide 21. So what I'm saying with respect to this leadership, I believe that most of the efforts that we have are discrete. They are not coordinated, and we, in my view, and we can debate this later, we lack a national systemic vision of what educational technology should provide. Why are we venturing into it? What should it provide? And therefore, what should we put in place? Okay, infrastructure, again, slide 22, I mentioned the effort of a number of government agencies that provide a number of different support types. I mentioned NCC's Universal Service Provision Program, NIDA's, RITC's, knowledge centers, NUC's effort for creating OER through Professor Okebukola, computer acquisition programs in universities. There are a number of efforts. And again, what I'm saying that you find that most of these interventions in infrastructure provision in Nigeria are disparate and disconnected and often without taking the stakeholders on board. And I also said absence of a national broadband infrastructure. And I say here, institutions rent services from vendors in a way that is uncoordinated and therefore too expensive. And slide again 22, I have a number of things. Teaching and learning, again, where are we? Again, with respect to those elements. I'm saying with respect to capacity building, there are a number of national and local initiatives that are targeting capacity building. I mentioned here DBI's adaptive program, ICT competency courses in universities, ICT competency training programs, and so on and so forth. So I have just painted my own personal brief assessment of where we are with respect to educational technology, deployment and employment in Nigeria. Again, I have skipped many things. So how do we, so certainly based on that assessment, there are gaps. Many things are not as they should be. So how do we, what remedial measures could we take in order to ensure that we have that robust educational technology ecosystem that I started with? Slide 24. So promoting educational technology diffusion in Nigeria, according to experts from the literature, they say teachers are reluctant to use technology because of three reasons. Either they lack time, or they lack resources, or they lack confidence. They are themselves not technology savvy. So I will skip all of these things. If they lack time, the solution is to provide them with lot of technology support personnel. Lack of resources, of course, based on what we said about infrastructure, is a precondition, it has to be there. Lack of confidence is through capacity building, and so on. So next, what I have is how do you promote, again, diffusion in Nigeria? We can learn from slide 27. what I have on slide 27 is just citing a few strategies that take place elsewhere, which is, a lot of it is through collaboration, through creating startups in education. Because whatever we need to do, it has to be a shared vision. And when I say it is shared, it's not only for technology leaders or education leaders. The private sector is a key player, obviously. So educators around the world are using technology to increase access. I gave an example of a company called 2U that enters into collaboration with universities to provide online degree programs. So that way, through that partnership, you increase access. Training skills, some, again, through some startups provide training skills without you needing to come to the traditional brick and mortar educational setting, so that you can take your degree programs completely online using the MOOCs. I'm on slide 28. So massively online courses that, and some also use distance learning as a way of, again, increasing access, so that the next on slide 29, promote establishment of research grants for enabling EdTech. This is a call to action by all and sundry. I overheard some people as we were standing outside saying that financing is not an issue. You know, government should just reach out to private sector and money is there. I wish the Honorable Minister was here, because a few days ago, or if you read the news, he's actually leading the effort of creating an ICT bank or bank of ICT because of this paucity of funding for technology and technology-based initiatives. So research is an important component. And in the last 2-3 slides, I will mention a few social benefits, some of which naturally transcend to economic benefits, again, as a basis for discussion. So educational technology helps in preparing students for the real world. There are a lot of arguments and debates. I'm on slide 30, please. Because somebody was talking about catching them young, as NIDA is doing and as other stakeholders are doing. Through that, you make learners to use technology to learn, research, collaborate, and solve problems at an early age, so that it becomes part and parcel of their life. And it also provides, because of it being part and parcel of them, it creates increased mobility among these youth, because they are able to learn and adapt technology, which is an essential requirement both in education and in other sectors. And it also better prepares them for the 21st century career needs. And so all of this will have direct effect to the society. It fosters increased engagement, the use of educational technology, provided we have the prerequisite that we said, requisite infrastructure, requisite devices, requisite quality and engaging content. So with those, it leads to greater engagement of the learners, and it leads to better learning, teaching, and human capital development. And according to Sharma, there is consensus that as learners get engaged, then they also learn. For some researchers say that engagement, getting them involved in learning content, is a necessary and sufficient condition for quality learning. So with increased engagement leads to increased retention. We can discuss this. And actual learning is a good indicator of quality because slide 32, it attracts, once there is evidence of good learning, then there is quality. And once you can boast of quality, you can get reputational and, in fact, indeed, financial benefits. And I just give 2 examples here on slide 32. I said that NUC now, through the efforts of the new executive secretary, Professor Abubakar Rashid, who is very dynamic, they are creating or they are giving an annual award for being the most subscribed university. So just getting the most applicants, just that. So if that attracts, some reputational or financial benefit, what more of quality through quality learning through educational technology initiatives. And you also see quite often that universities, advertising and wooing applicants because they just get accreditation. I have 3 slides to go, but I can stop here. Other things we can discuss, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Could we give him another round of applause, please? It's incredibly difficult having to do justice to a topic as broad as this in so short a time. And I thank you very much, Prof, for setting the tone.
Thank you. Thank you.
So in the next few minutes, I think we can try to expatiate on some of the points that he's made, and maybe if we have enough time, we can come to the audience for questions or comments to be made. So in the next few minutes, we'll take comments from the discussants, starting with ladies first. Mrs. Delete Joshua. Perhaps you may want to, if you press the other, or would you prefer this one? Okay. So maybe you can give us a quick intro as to yourself, and then make some comments regarding his paper.
Okay. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to be part of this panel. I'm Mrs. Dele Tejesho, the founder of Wi-Fi Combat Academy. 6 years ago, we decided to bring technology to the children. Right now, the government has been so focused on the tertiary universities. They've been very focused on the youths. So we decided to bridge the gap where we decided to take technology to children from the ages of 5 to 18 years old. We've partnered with organizations like Oracle Academy and Microsoft, and we've trained almost about 2,000 students on programming and coding. Recently, we've actually partnered with NITSA. We had the first national code competition, and we had over 500 students that participated, and then the winners came. There was a big grand opening here in Abuja. And then we recently had the Oracle Hackathon, where schools from different backgrounds, whether you're a public school, you're a private school, they participated in the competition. And then one of the things that we have done is to push emerging technology to children. We don't want it to be a surprise to them. So what we've done is that we've held very important programs, like we've taught 3D printing, we've taught virtual reality, being able to create content, because that's what we're doing. We want the children not just to be consumers of content, to be able to create the content. And that's why we're here, because we're looking at solutions. How do we build the ecosystem? And that's the reason why I'm here. To also partner and then work with institutions like NITSA to push EduTech in Nigeria, because that's where we are going to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gadaji.
Let me start by saying I'm grateful to NITDA, obviously, for inviting me. And certainly NITDA needs to be congratulated. The eNigeria conference is getting better every year. And in particular, this year's theme is very appropriate, as has been noted. And again, coming to think of it, putting this first session on ICT skills really says it all. If we want a digital economy, we must have a very large mass of very well-skilled and knowledgeable ICT professionals and other people who in one way or another would use ICT. And we can't get all this unless we have a very robust educational system. And that is where this EdTech comes. How do you use IT to improve our educational system? When a professor speaks on a subject that is well grounded in, there's nothing much that panelists can add to it. But I will try to maybe emphasize some of the things that he has already mentioned. Okay, I'll try that. First is that, as we know, IT is an enabler of everything. But the truth of the matter is that IT has not changed education sufficiently. And this is well known in the literature. And that's why there's the need for that. Yes, we have computers in our classes and so on, but IT needs to do more. It needs to do more in even the types of skills and knowledge that we require for today, the 21st century. It needs to do more in changing the way that instructors give their instructions, and also the way that learners learn. It also has to completely change the way that assessments are done. This method of exams and so on is not the best way. In particular, IT has to go into the educational system, and it has to take up this issue of access and quality. Normally, there's this feeling that in order for you to get access, you lose quality. And if you are going after quality, you may only need it for a very limited quantity. But IT can do both. Get access for all our children, and at the same time, get the desired quality.
Thank you, Dr. Galanchi. Let me just jump in here so we can have a quick discussion and then come to the audience. So your last point, I think, was very, very important. It was an element that I wanted to see a little bit more discussion around. Because going through the 6 parameters that were laid out by, or the 5 parameters laid out by Professor in his presentation, one will get the sense that there isn't any hope for. You want to take the mic? Oh, okay. All right. I thought you wanted to make an announcement.
You are ready for questions?
Yes, just a few minutes. We just wanted just a few more minutes. So if you look at the range of things that you came up with, the parameters that you're using to evaluate the status of education technology, the barrier seems really, really high, which takes us to the point of the digital divide and the potential for technology in education to actually be elitist as opposed to addressing the challenges of a country like ours that has major problems in education. So I was thinking you may want to come back to us on that, and what your thoughts are around how does technology itself democratize access to qualitative education and not just become a tool for the elite to continue to pull away from the rest of the society?
Thank you very much. There is actually a lively debate regarding whether technology actually reduces the digital divide or it exacerbates it, in fact. Perhaps I skipped on some of those slides, but it is both, actually. The example people give is, they say, obviously, when you have, somewhere in my slides, I was saying, as we deploy technology, we should beware certain things. And what the literature mentions is BYOD or BYOT. Beware your own device, or in fact, any new device. Because once you have any new device, obviously, it will create an increasing gap between the haves and the have-not in terms of access. If there is a new, people cite example, the common example is telephony. When telephone was new, if you imagine that you can access educational material with it. When it came new, obviously who will have access to it? But as they become cheaper and the market stabilizes, then it becomes a leveling factor.
So Prof, let me just jump in again,
Yes.
and let's get to what's practical in Nigeria.
Yes.
We have a situation where we're supposed to have 25% of the out-of-school children in the world, somewhere between 10 and 15 million. We have a situation where the carrying capacity in secondary school is only 14% of junior secondary, and so we have 86% of our children stopping education at JSS 3, literally, because there is no pivot to catch them.
Yes.
So when we speak about things like education technology, wouldn't it be kind of like more, isn't it critical that we figure out how education technology starts to take care of those people who are being left behind by the current economic, and I mean, well, this is open to the panel. I mean, it's open for you to make a comment around that.
Yes, in fact, that is the essence of when I did the little introspection with respect to Nigeria. This is what I said in the earlier stage. One of the important key prerequisites is we have to have this shared vision at the national level, which is collective, because it's a national problem. It cannot be solved by discrete initiatives. That is one of my main observations. And if we have this national education technology policy, for example, understanding a problem like the one you have pointed out, so we will put a policy in place. Is this through distance learning? Is this through the use of the cloud, like some other people have used? Is this through? So what is best for us? In the research.
Let me take that question to Dr. Ganadanchi to answer the question, the million-dollar question. How do we do exactly what Professor?
No, I'm trying to answer.
Are you going to?
So that we get,
Are you going to give me $1 million if I answer it correctly?
The Honourable Minister is here. So.
You see, this issue of how do we get our out-of-school children in school is really a matter of two things. It's funding and it's innovation. Funding requires both public funding and private sector funding. We're not doing enough, whether you look at it from the public sector point of view or from the private sector. The private sector is putting quite a little bit of money, but they're just investing a little and trying to get as much of it as possible as profits. Now, when it comes to innovation, that's where I think NITDA comes in. And that's why I'm happy this thing is being discussed. If NITDA can sit down with all the other stakeholders, I think we'd be able to do what Prof is saying, that we can have a robust policy, not something that is disjointed, and then we can go all together in an attempt to try to use educational technology in order to address this $1 million question of how do we get all of our out-of-school children to get qualitative education.
Okay, Mr. Chedesho, just before you come in, there's something called the Project Cebal, which was done in Uruguay. In fact, I think it's Macedonia is the first country in the world to give every single child a device. Uruguay tried it with 1 million, one laptop per child, those EXOs, and they stumbled. How do we address this issue in Nigeria with 40 million children in school? Using technology. If technology, so I want us to be able to frame the challenge that's ahead of us and frame it not just for the NIDA, but also for the private sector. So as a country, we can start to address that problem.
Okay, I'm going to talk from a practical angle. So as I said, we've done this for 6 years. Right now in Lagos, there's so many influencers, there's so many people doing this training. So I think it's important that we come together because everybody's scattered. We don't know who's who, we don't know who's providing the technology. So I think for me, the people giving the training, corporate organizations, then the technology firms and the government, we need to come together and then come up with policies and solutions where access to technology for these students, they can actually have access to it. Like for instance, now we're doing this program called the Teen Techpreneurship, and we're looking at how we can work with NGOs, because NGOs have relationships with NGOs that are into education. They're doing a lot of things. You have Teach for Nigeria. They've actually called me and said, okay, can we do massive training? Because we need a lot of funds. And then for corporate organizations, their CSR has to be pushed more into edutech technology.
Okay, so I need to interrupt so we can get to the crowd. Sorry, my apologies. So I'm hearing a number of things. One is scale. We need to find a way to scale.
Yes.
The second one is that we need to be careful around not exacerbating the issues around the digital divide itself. A third is that there is a fundamental requirement for certain levels of technology anyway to make this reasonable. So there is no point pretending that we do not need certain things. So I'm hoping somewhere in the crowd somebody has the answer. Do we have microphones? Don't have microphones, or can we have microphones, please, so we can take questions from the crowd. And please, I need to plead with you when you come up. We're only going to take 3 questions, and I'm going to be the dictator who will pick the 3 people who ask questions. And please, if you keep your questions to a maximum of 30 seconds, not give us a lecture, we can get round, maybe add a 4th question. So let me start with Dr. Emmanuel Ekwem. The microphone to him. Oh, my apologies.
Mr. Moderator,
too, so one doctor against another. So.
Even holding the microphone, I've already exhausted my 30 seconds. Please, moderator, this subject is exciting to me. There is need for us as a nation to see the link between unemployment of young people and what Prof is discussing. The young people are intelligent, smart, energetic, dynamic, and impatient. And they are what I call touchscreen people, what touch and effect. So technology enables them to be excited in class. Not analog classroom, not analog workshops, not analog laboratories. And the outreach will be larger when you excite them. So I agree with Prof. Policy, and you mentioned it, Mr. the Moderator, the right policy is indispensable when government comes to know the link, the indispensability between eradicating or reducing unemployment by getting these young people excited and charmed and enthused to learning. Like we always say, you learn better from someone who does what? Informs, imparts, educates, and entertains. That's when you acquire knowledge most.
Thank you very much, sir. So that wasn't the question. So it was a contribution and a great one. So we still have 3 questions. Dr. Olufue.
Thank you very much. Very great panel. You're looking for a solution. The Prof has already given us a solution to the issue. He outlined the problem, lack of plan. So the question is, how do we get a plan? Not just the plan, the strategy. We know the issue. We have it with us. But the strategy, how do we go about developing it right away?
Okay, so no question again. That's great. And I just want to throw in a little bit here. There are a number of policy documents that have come out of the Ministry of Education regarding technology in education. And I think those plans, we should maybe be looking more at execution, because there are at least 6 pillars contained inside the document that was published, I think, in 2012, that define certain technology components that can drive the education system. So there's a question of funding, as has been correctly brought out, and then there's a question of execution of those plans. So I personally wouldn't subscribe to another summit that just talks and talks, and it's not, and there's no delivery that goes with it. So any other, the gentleman in the blue is a third question. Gentleman in the blue to my left. And then we'll take, you know how it was in school then, you'll be raising your hand and nobody will pick you. They'll be picking a person behind you. So I don't know how you're going to jump up and make yourself known. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Coordinator. I'm concerned about this particular thing that Professor Jinaidu talked about. I'm from the...
we can't hear you very well.
Yeah, sorry. My name is Dr. Ebenezer Felix. I'm from the Federal University, Gashua. I am very concerned about the point made by Professor Jinaidu talking about access, quality, and this online education thing. Now, I overheard you a while ago talking about the need to keep, to control access while at the same time trying to maintain quality. Now, our concern here is if we want to get these young people involved, getting them into our educational system, then how then do we manage the question of online education? Because I know that many of our colleagues are against online education. At a point, NUC was even against online education. But I know that this is just a new trend, and it's an emerging trend all over the world. So in Nigeria, how do we handle this considering access and quality? I'm concerned about this because I am coming from an educational institution. Whatever this private sector is doing is perfect for us, but I'm more interested in the one that concerns education. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. So we'll take the last question and then give all the answers at once. So somebody on the right, gentleman we have one person with a military look. I better take him. Please stand up, sir. The one in the cap. Aha. Please tell your guy that I was very compliant.
Thank you very much. My name is Ifeanyi Okoro from the Nigerian Prison Service. I'm looking at the economic benefit of technology in Nigeria here. I found out back those time in the university, students are asked to bring project topic. You get your project topic submitted, and after the project, the project is just like to graduate you. There is no basis to go back to bring a viable project that there's no connect between your project and the private sector or that will make it to become commercialized. You find out that if you go to many universities today or institutions, you find out that projects are dumped in the workshops there. There is no review, there's no way to go back to them. So as a person that did that particular project can improve on it, that will not be, so that will make it to have a market value. It's just a way of graduation. And I think it's a very big problem that we have in Nigeria. So my question is there any way that we are trying to, what we are doing so that we can connect the project that you did in school so as to make it marketable? Because that is what is obtainable everywhere in the country. When you talk about China today, you find out that after a project that you submit, that project will not be what the private sector will come to it, look at it and see how they can make it more viable again, which we don't actually have here in Nigeria. So most of the brain are dumped in the workshop. What are we doing to exploit those things so as to make it marketable in order to improve not just the economic value and also the technological development of the youth in Nigeria? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we have 2 questions, and those 2 questions can be answered by Dr. Junaid. First is regarding access versus equity. Yes. And I think the second question is more about research and development, the interface between academic research, innovation, and commercialization of products.
Thank you very much, moderator. Yes, certainly the colleague from university is talking about some are against this online. This is part of what I talked about, the settlers, which is a big issue. Well, before we go to the settlers, I think we need to do a lot of stakeholding campaigns to to convince the settlers that online education is valuable and it has come to stay. If you look at the statistics of the growth of some of these outfits, in fact, some of my slides, I did mention a number of people are creating, a number of entrepreneurs are coming up with initiatives to make money out of these ventures. But this is not to say that it doesn't have quality. We are struggling largely to deploy it here in higher education. If you go to other climes, actually this is part and parcel of what they do even at lower level educational settings. So it's very important. There is resistance, but that is part of the challenge, part of the prerequisite that we have to overcome for us to ensure that educational technology delivers the value that we require. Obviously, regarding access and quality, Dr. Galadenti has already opined that they are not mutually exclusive and that technology can provide for both, again, as is evident in the literature. So I think our job as stakeholders is to make sure that we have that shared vision, we have that shared belief that educational technology is valuable and can be used to deliver value to our society and to our economy. Regarding the issue of lack of connect between researchers and the industry, that is why, again, we look at the slide, we are talking about this collective stakeholding. And the collective stakeholding, requires building these partnerships. You have private sector coming into partnership with universities, and this is something that is sadly, missing in our country. This linkage between industry and academia, because it is through that linkage that the academia will know what are the problems that industry is facing, so that they don't just go in solving theoretical problems. So certainly it is that linkage that will overcome the problem that we are saying. A few weeks ago, a colleague, Professor Aderunmu, presented a model when we were at NIDA, a model that will facilitate this partnership. So we go and that linkage, and his prayer was that NIDA should facilitate in creating this linkage. We in the academics, we are problem solvers. So let us know what problems exist, which is what happens elsewhere. So let us have faith in each other that I have this problem, and then we take it and solve it and you apply it. In fact, there is no way to create local content than that. So if you have that problem, if you don't solve it locally, you are going to import a solution and therefore incur capital flight. So the summary is that stakeholding facilitated by partnership between academia and industry, private sector, is what will facilitate that in my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to apologize because it seems like we may not have taken any questions from the ladies in the house. It's not deliberate. But if there's somebody who really wants to make a statement, I would have to make that exception. Where I'm getting signals that I'm far over time. Do we have a lady? Yes, please. Please ask your question. Can we give her the microphone?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Dr. Wumi Azan. And it's not actually a question, but actually looking at the topic that this session is addressing, I want to believe that obviously for time, Prof couldn't say so much, and the last comment he just made is driving home the point. And the point today we need to begin to see as a country is that we cannot be talking about education in technological terms the way we've been running it. And why? Because the social and economic challenges that we are trying to solve must be driven by the community, must be driven by the organization of the ecosystem, which actually is not just a tertiary or educational institution, but we have research institutions linked to a lot of MDAs. And these people have a lot of issues that are actually from policy directions, which need collaboration, which need partnerships. And we need to begin to look at how students in school would enjoy technology by solving those community or state or national-based problems. And that's where you will begin to see that the issues of benefits and sustainable way of education will become a top order. You will see a primary child, a secondary school children that will begin to look at how to use technology to solve problems rather than just the online reading. We like to read online. We like to do the distant learning. But we are saying if we need to have digital economy with our local content, then there must be a problem at the community level, at the national level, at the local government level that will be brought to the classroom, where students will be able to say, what technology do we need? In other words, it's like a reverse learning. Why must we use physics or chemistry or mathematics? We must use it because we have something to solve. And then that way, the teachers and the students can benefit better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me try to summarize so we can close this session. I would say that we perhaps may be understating or underestimating or underemphasizing the extent of the problem in the education sector, the larger education sector as a whole. It's not only a problem of out-of-school children, it's also a humongous problem in terms of quality. The quality just isn't there, and technology is not going to change that unless you use a different school model altogether. So if the computer is teaching, it will be 100% accurate. But if you have a situation where 27% of the teachers in basic education only 27% are qualified to teach, there isn't any point introducing technology into that environment because they wouldn't be able to use it to do what we expect them to do. So there are fundamental issues in larger education system, which would make injection of technology difficult. And I think most countries have found that out. On a more pragmatic note, I think addressing, I want us to be clear about one thing. I think we'll all be in agreement. Current model for education, Nigeria, is from the 19th century. And we are in the 21st century. So we should not go and rebuild the old model. We should be looking forward to saying, what can we do with the current tools, the current knowledge, the current capacity to accelerate ourselves out of the problem that we currently have? One of the key elements of that would be this. I would be suggesting perhaps to the panel that we consider the possibility of bringing the cloud down Nigeria. I think the cost of connectivity is large because the cost is external. We need to create more local exchanges so that there is a lot more of the traffic going on at this level, in which case everywhere across Abuja you could actually have connectivity and learning going on at the same time. I think it's absolutely critical we look at the issues around shared computing. The concept of one-to-one is perhaps too expensive for our environment. So how do we then maximize access to the few systems that we'll be able to put in place in all the places, all the schools? I also made a note around the issue around curriculum and then the pedagogy, which I think is critical. The millennials don't learn the same way that those of us who don't have hair anymore learn. They have to be completely engaged, and that means that you must move them out of the analog environment into a more 21st century type environment where the learning is fun, it's engaging, and it's practical. As the madam pointed out, it goes straight to local issues, and you're solving local issues in a fun, interesting manner using technology. Lastly, and I think this was one of the points that was brought out by Mrs. Tedrosho, is a question of the partnerships that have to be built between the private sector and the public sector in terms of enhancing PPPs. I think currently in Nigeria, there is no framework for PPPs in education, so it becomes almost impossible. CSR is less than 1% of the turnover of a business. It can never fund education. So we have big challenges around funding, but I think we have general agreements that the only way for Nigeria to go is towards a digital future, and that digital future can only be enabled by the proliferation of technology. I think on that note, I want to thank you for your patience. Thank you, panelists. Thank you for the excellent paper started. And happy eNigeria. Thank you very much.
A big thank you to the first panelists. We thank you so much for your contributions and your presentations. We now go straight into the second session. But before then, may I call on the E6 group. The E6 group is demonstrating an innovation for e-transport. Is that you? You have 4 minutes.
Hello, everyone. In Nigeria today, most of our major roads are plagued by so many issues like potholes and drunk driving. According to National Bureau of Statistics, between the month of April and June this year, 1,279 deaths and 8,270 injuries were recorded due to road crashes. And most of these road crashes were man-made. So it is safe to say road safety is a major concern for everyone, whether directly or indirectly. My name is Umar Adamu. I'm from Team 6. I'm the CTO and a co-founder at 6. 6 is an IoT-based electronic device that can mitigate some of the road safety concerns we have in Nigeria. Some of the concerns or some of the issues it can mitigate are driving under the influence, driver fatigue, overspeeding. It can also detect accidents and send an SOX signal with the exact location of where this accident occurred to FRSC, and FRSC can dispatch the relevant emergency response unit to the exact location. It can also detect potholes and inform drivers of when their vehicles are due for maintenance. We believe by attacking some of these issues, we would be able to reduce the loss of lives and also the financial cost of running a vehicle fleet business. Okay, so for now, this was our device as at last month. This is a prototype involving a Raspberry Pi breadboard and Arduino. So now this is what we have. We've eliminated most of those hardwares, and now we have our own homegrown, designed and printed here in Nigeria. It is still a work in progress, but for now, this is what we have. So, and our market size in Nigeria is it's a very big market. It's estimated at $750 million. So we have over 11 million vehicles in Nigeria, and 58% of them are public vehicles, which is our target market. We want to make sure our public roads are safe to drive in. So thank you.
The second team to pitch is the eSmarter team, and they are demonstrating an innovation on the e-learning platform. Let us encourage our young innovators by applauding them when they come before us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Hallo, guten Tag. Ich heiße Precious Friday. So I'm here to represent Smarter Languages. Smarter Languages, what we do, just like I demonstrated, is to help build a bridge across cultures. We try to bridge a gap in the language barriers. So sometime I attended an event and a friend, not just a friend though, someone met me and he's like, Precious, please teach me French. Do you know I went to France and I was stranded simply because I could not speak French. And you know I really want to learn this thing, but then I do not have time to go up and down language schools. So I told him, don't worry, we've got you covered. So what we do is we teach these languages. We offer multilingual services, e-learning platform for languages, local and foreign languages. So for our parents who can't communicate with their children in their local languages anymore, just like you want to say something secretly to your child where you have a whole crowd and there's no privacy. So all you have to do is communicate in your language. But this time you can't do it anymore simply because you all speak just English. So all we do is we train your children. We offer home services. If you want that, we offer you the e-learning platform. So our e-learning platform is still on course. We've not yet launched it. But then we also offer services to the expatriate community. We have Turkish nationals, we have Lebanese, we have different people from different parts of the world learning from our platform. We also offer translation services to organizations. Recently we translated for a law firm that wanted to partner with the government of Argentina. So this is what we do. We bridge a gap across cultures. We make it closer. We serve as mediators to these people. We make the world come closer to you. It's no longer far from you. So on this note, I will say thank you for listening. Vielen Dank. Merci beaucoup. It was nice having you all. My name is Precious Friday once again. Thank you.
We'll go directly into the second session. The topic for the second session is a roadmap for building a national health information technology ecosystem. And presenting at this session is Mr. Adekunle Ajiboye, CEO, Agimantix, Canada. Mr. Ajiboye, you are welcome, sir. The moderator for this session is Olorogun James Emadoye, President, ISPON. You're welcome, sir. On the panel, in no particular order, are Dr. Femi Adeluyi. Dr. Femi Adeluyi is of the Corporate Planning and Strategy Department of NITDA. You're welcome, Dr. Femi. We also have on the panel Dr. Nkem Moma. Dr. Nkem Moma is of the E-Government Development and Regulatory Department of NITDA. Dr. Moma. Dr. Moma, please. Okay, he will join us. So let us listen to the presentation from Mr. Adekunle Ajiboye. This presentation has been, I will be happier if this presentation can be made within 20 minutes. And then we have 5 minutes of comments from the panelists, and then 10 minutes for questions, comments, and suggestions, and then we close the second session. Dr. Moma, you are welcome, sir. So, Mr. Adekunle Ajiboye, CEO, Agimatics Canada, your presentation, sir. You're welcome.
The slides. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. While we wait for the technical to pull up the slides,
Femi, doctor.
I want to stand on all existing protocol, recognizing our president one more time, who was here this morning, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. I want to thank the leadership of NIDA that has given me the honor and privilege to make this presentation today. Kudos to Dr. Pantami and his team. I want to recognize some important dignitaries in our midst. We have Commissioner Lekon Ladipupo in our midst. Thank you, sir. We have the former DG of NIDA also in our midst. Today's presentation is very auspicious. If Nigeria wants to become one of the 20 largest economies by 2020, we need a skilled workforce and a healthy workforce. The previous presentation and panel was on education. If they are not skilled and they don't have good health, there is no way we can make progress in attaining the vision of Vision 2020. We're waiting for the slides, please. Thank you. This presentation, the next slide, please. The next one. The next one. You can hold it there. The theme of this year's eNIgeria conference, which is fostering a digital economy through local content development and effective resolutions. There are three components there: a digital economy, local content, and effective regulation. And we will address those three in this presentation. The sub-theme of building towards a national ICT skills framework and development. The next slide. Before we dive into the presentation, I think it is apt for us to look at the hallmarks of an advancing digital nation. The first hallmark of advancing digital nations is the digitally informed leadership. A digitally informed leadership. A digitally informed leadership is needed for us to advance to have a digital economy. We need an empowered and equipped digital leadership and agency, and that will be NIDA. And NIDA has been doing their best within available resources to push the ICT agenda of Nigeria forward. The next slide, please. Is there a clicker? Okay, which is up. Up and down. Okay. Oh, you had this all along. Okay, fine. Sorry, the technical people. So, ICT has been playing a major role in the economy of Nigeria in the past decade. Statistics tells us there is over $70 billion investment in the telco sector alone. So in other words, Nigeria has been building digital infrastructure for a digital economy. So there is something to build upon. What is a digital economy? The academics will say that a digital economy rides on digital infrastructure. The business person would say it's conducting business over the internet. I would say it's a bit more than that, but I would not weigh us down with definitions at the moment. In the past 4 years, there has been a lot of activity in Nigeria's health IT sector and ICT for health. And we made a bold statement that by 2020, health ICT will help enable and deliver universal health coverage in Nigeria. I'm not sure where we are in terms of that target. When we look at Nigeria's GDP in the year 2002, 15 years ago, we see that mining and quarrying, which oil and gas was part of, was almost 41% of the GDP. 0.56% was for other services, and it was under other services that healthcare was categorized. Last year, according to available data, the federal government of Nigeria spent $1 billion on medical tourism for government officials. Private citizens spent $7 billion on medical tourism outside Nigeria. Whereas the federal budget for healthcare is $200 million, $1 per capita. If Nigeria could tap into barely 10% of the $7 billion that was spent on medical tourism, if that was retained within our economy, we would see the impact. $7 billion was spent on medical tourism, and the budget was $200 million. If we look at the GDP of Nigeria in 2016, we see a shift. Because in 2002, the ICT sector accounted for about 3% of the GDP. By 2016, the ICT sector was accounting for 12 to 15% of Nigeria's GDP. But the health sector remains stagnant. And we need a healthy workforce to be able to fuel our economic and industrial drive. So, therein leads us to a chasm. There's a chasm. What do? Do we cross this chasm? Do we embrace the opportunity? I believe we should. And we should pivot. In Africa and in Nigeria, e-health or health information or ICT for health is characterized by many dispersed, uncoordinated projects. Many dispersed projects that cannot be scaled up. These are some of the issues we're facing. There are pilots that are largely yet to be scaled up. There are issues with capacity building. There are issues with funding. We have issues with infrastructure. And when I mean infrastructure, I mean digital infrastructure. That presents us with an opportunity. Dr. Pantame told us this morning, we have a population of a minimum of 190 million. And about 40 to 45% of them are youths. And they are ICT addicted. They are digitally literate. If you look beyond Africa into ECOWAS, the region, we have a population of 380 million. we have less than 10 million covered by health insurance in Nigeria. We have less than 25,000 physicians. You may look at this and think they are challenges. I would want to think they are opportunities to be embraced. I want us to take a look at the health ecosystem. I call it the e-health sphere. And let's look at the 7 to 8 major components of this ecosystem we're talking about. Because this is the ecosystem that we're charting a roadmap towards. On one end, we have the educators who will provide the education and the capacity building required for this skilled health IT workforce. On the other end, we have the networks over which the health information data will ride on. We have the e-health champions in the persons of people like Dr. Itai Olambo, former Minister of Health. We have government agencies, NIDA, Comtech, NHIS, National Private Healthcare Development Agency. We have the ministries, departments, and agencies and not-for-profits. Everyone fits into the health IT ecosystem. And this is the path that we should follow. But I want to draw our attention to the health IT value chain. This health IT value chain has to be domiciled in Nigeria, such that for every dollar we spend, 55 to 60 cents of it has to be within the Nigerian economy. In the health IT ecosystem, we have the payers, we have the providers, and we have the producers. So the payers could be the government health insurance, could be the private health insurance, it could be the state health insurance. The providers are the health management organizations. The producers are the physicians and all the other healthcare related. We need to ensure that we take a major chunk of the health IT value chain. So I was asked to give a roadmap for this. And a roadmap consists of milestones and timelines. And the first item on the roadmap is a digitally informed leadership. And this is something that is ongoing. The second item would be that we would recommend that the 5% of the federal government expenditure be devoted to healthcare. And this should be accomplished in the 2019 fiscal year. We also now prefer that 5% of the health budget should be committed to e-health and ICT for health. And this should be accomplished in the 2019 fiscal year. We are also saying that we need to start talking about ICT for health or e-health to our children from primary school. We're saying that we need to include e-health in the medical curricula of our physicians when they are in medical school. We're saying that we need to keep having conferences like this, seminars and workshops, to increase the capacity of our healthcare and health IT-related professionals. We are saying that we need an office for the National Coordinator for Health IT. This is an office that will work with the Comtech Ministry, the Health Ministry, NIDA, NHIS, and the Presidency for the National Coordinator for Health IT. And I'm sure there are folks in this room that can fit into that position. We're saying that there need to be ongoing bills and acts and law that support and promote health information and related. We do not have a Privacy Act for health information in Nigeria yet. These are things that we need to put in place and look at. We've spoken a lot about made in Nigeria IT products. We have been encouraged to buy made in Nigeria products. I want to suggest the Made in Nigeria Fund. Now, if NIDA is the clearinghouse for all IT-related projects, then I recommend that the government should be the first customer of our entrepreneurs. And we set aside a fund every year that NIGDA will administer to purchase solutions from our local entrepreneurs so that they can have the government as a reference point, and the government has supported a startup. It's not enough only for NIGDA to approve the project. If we are, I just saw the startup pitch a few minutes ago, where are they going to go after that? In Canada, we have such a fund of $700 million annually. And we have 5 focus areas: healthcare, defense, education. So Nigeria should identify the areas it wants and support homemade products in those categories. And the government should be the first client. These are the items of the roadmap that I would want to prefer for Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adekunle Ajiboye, for that brilliant presentation. In summary, he's told us about what we need to do. He defined digital economy and said one of the first prerequisites that we need to do or have is digital informed leadership. He said the challenge we have, we should look and take it as opportunity. National Health IT ecosystem, and he gave us a list of resources that we need to have whilst defining the players, providers, and producers on health IT value change. And lastly, he gave us a roadmap, which of course first is that our leaders must be digitally informed, and then we need to have a 5% of our government, federal government expenditure devoted to health, and 5% of that to ICT for health. And we also need to introduce ICT for health in our educational system from the primary level to the tertiary level, and the establishment of a health IT coordinator office. And as part of the roadmap, views and law for health IT, and finally, government should establish a fund which is to be managed by NIGDA for ensuring that all made in Nigerian products are consumed first by government. So thank you very much, Mr. Ajiboye. So here we are. Dr. Femi, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. I will focus on the areas of education and finance. The truth is that, like was being discussed earlier today, the reason why we want to go to and adopt a digital economy is because that's the way the world is going, leaving the conventional approach of conventional economy approach and trying to adopt a digital one. And the same thing applies in healthcare. Basically, the way we educate our doctors is still the conventional and old school method. But the truth is that it is difficult for any society, whether it is in Nigeria or even developed countries across the world, to find sufficient funding to provide health care based on the conventional methods. That's why ICT has been used a great deal to be able to facilitate healthcare in many parts of the world. We're even lucky in Nigeria that our population is young. In many of these countries, they have an aging population, so the healthcare costs are rising speedily. And they have decided to use ICT to help their healthcare. What am I saying? It's important that our medical education embraces IT a great deal. It's important that our doctors understand how you can use IoT, how you can use big data analytics in healthcare. It's also important that we have courses like biomedical engineering that focus on how you can use, not everybody is called to be a doctor, but most courses can be used to help the medical sector. So it's important that we review the curriculum and the different courses that are taken in these schools so that it's possible that in the next few years, like he has suggested, it's possible that Nigeria embraces IT, health and ICT in a greater way. And concerning finance, really, you have to put your money where your mouth is. You have to be able to put some funding to help develop ICT in healthcare. And I agree with his suggestion that a part of the budget should be devoted to building ICT in healthcare. Thank you. Those are the comments I have.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Adelui. Now, there is an aspect of the presentation which I really want us to look at. He said our government officials spend about $1 billion on medical pilgrimages abroad, and for all of other $7 billion. And only 200 million is budgeted for our Ministry of Health. And there is a saying that if you even go to the US for medical pilgrimage like we do, the chances are that 60% of the time you are meeting a Nigerian doctor. What is actually happening? Dr. Nkem Moma.
Thank you very much for that question. Let me first of all appreciate the presentation made by Mr. Jiboye. He was reading our statistics here. I was wondering if it's Nigerian-based. He has more facts than we here in Nigeria have. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Jiboye. Then over to your question. Health tourism remains a nagging problem we have in Nigeria. And how ICT can help mitigate that is still quite perplexing to us in the sector. The reasons why people engage health tourism is a myriad of factors you can associate with that. ICT may not be the immediate, or a lack of it may not be the immediate cause, but it's going a long way in helping to reduce health tourism. I think there are other more fundamental problems there. The issues of training, like I alluded to, infrastructure, there are issues that really, should I say, make the health tourism thrive abroad. So will ICT, if we're instead now reverse that trend, it may not be immediate. It will just be a step in the right direction. ICT will help to motivate, encourage, redirect the flow, but it may not change it overnight. Because part of what we see abroad is that, like you said, if you rate or grade the quality of engagement with the physicians there, the quality is even higher here. There's a high reliance on technology there. You don't get a personalized care there most times. So, and those same doctors there are Nigerians. So at the end of the day, if we have the technology, we will have an advantage, as it were, compared to doctors over there. So what we don't have technology-wise, we have in terms of skill, clinical orientation. So with technology here will give us an extra edge, definitely. That's what I was saying. I don't know if I answered your question adequately.
Well, thank you very much. I think the audience will also contribute to it. But what we are saying is that we have the skill, and the quality of the skill is even higher here because we rely more on our physical skill. No technology to support us, if I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
No technology to support us. And so...
infrastructure, no technology.
And infrastructure.
Yes.
And so when our physicians go abroad, they actually thrive because they do a lot of things here based on their self-knowledge. Okay, so what is the problem with us that we rather spend $8 billion to create employment for people abroad and make sure that our people graduate from school here and no jobs. Yet we have the money to fly somebody who is probably old and is having natural aging sickness abroad for treatment. Dr. Adelui.
Well, the thing about health is, no matter how we try to discuss it and legislate, health is important. I mean, because when you don't have the right health care, what can happen is that there can be mortality, people can die. So people are willing to spend money to ensure that they survive. So unless we work on our system such that they have enough confidence in the system, we will not be able to stem this tide of medical tourism. I believe that, like we've said, if we can reorientate ourselves in the area of how we train our doctors. For example, we talked about infrastructure. Many of the doctors that travel abroad, right, they have access to facilities and they can thrive because of that environment. The thing that ICT does is that in one area, you have things called virtual instruments. You have ICT-based infrastructure. It's possible for you to be able to get scanners, get devices, even get some components of an MRI that are virtual. So that's why I believe that it's important that we train our doctors in ways that they can use this type of technologies. And with that available, the doctors will be trained better, and people will have more confidence in our system and will be able to stay here, keep their money here, instead of going out for treatment.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Honorable Moderator, sir, please. Would like to invite to join your honorable panel, Dr. Ime Asangasi. Dr. Asangasi is CEO eHealth for Everyone. Dr. Ime Asangasi, please. Asangasi. Dr. Ime Asangasi, please, can you come up? Okay. Dr. Ime will join us as we go on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Ajiboye, don't let me bother you. I want you to expatiate more on what you talk about, the bill/law for health IT.
Thank you, sir. Just a quick comment about the statistics on medical tourism. When I threw those figures out, it was to tell us the value of the capital flight to Nigeria, outside Nigeria. In the US or in Canada, the healthcare industry accounts for 12 to 13% of the economy. I spoke about the health value chain. It involves everyone in that value chain. We are missing in that value chain. If we could get a chunk of that amount domiciled, operating in the country, to make a big impact. Now back to your question, sir, about the laws. When we begin to move medical record and data across electronic platforms, there are laws that need to govern privacy, security, and portability. So now we're used to, you have the medical files, and you can lock them up in the cabinet, in the doctor's office, or in the emergency room, or in the triage. But when you are moving that data across electronic platforms, there need to be privacy and portability acts that govern that. And Nigeria doesn't have that yet. It's something we should be working on. I believe the Health Record Officers Registration Board may be here. This is something that they are also looking at. In the US, we call it the the EPA, Health Information Privacy and Portability Act, and in Canada, we call it PEHIPA. We need to work on that in Nigeria. And all other enabling laws that need to come from the National Assembly or sponsored bills to ensure that when we begin to move in this realm of electronic medical records, the adequate laws are there to protect and guide the citizens.
Thank you very much, Dr. Omar. 7 billion capital flight translate to about 2.5 trillion naira at the current rate of 360. What is the national budget?
6 trillion.
About 6 trillion. So, is it that we are not aware of the harm we are doing to ourselves? Or what is the problem?
I think the data sounds a lot scarier than maybe it is. I'm hearing for the first time. But if that is the figures, then it's really worrisome, I must say. Life, they say, is sacrosanct. Times it defies logic. People instinctively tend towards what will preserve their lives. So like Dr. Femi said, there's need for the system to engender confidence in its users. And over time, we can then maybe stem that tide. But $7 billion is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Even in the US, it's a lot of money. And I beg to, it's a lot of money for any country at all. I think it also speaks to why we're here. The theme of this conference, fostering digital economy and local content. How do you tell a man to experiment with his life? You want to foster local content, you want to use me to experiment, so we need to ask ourselves real questions. If we are dealing with other sectors, but human life is so sacrosanct that the chances are that there are few people that will want to go without experiment. So we'd rather just take a chance on what will preserve their life than try to deepen local content and then lose their lives. The challenge is on to us to build the infrastructure, build our manpower, and grow the system here endogenously.
Okay, let's turn to the audience for questions and contributions. In the front row, okay, Dr. Querem, just 1 minute. Then immediately behind, number 2, 3, 4, 5. In that order.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The gentleman that spoke last, that answered your question, Mr. Moderator, your remarks is scaring to me. And in fact, you have hit the nail on the head. That's where the problem lies. Because you are a medic and you are thinking that one is trying to make a guinea pig out of a Nigerian patient using ICT. That is what that last remark is almost saying, and I'm worried about that. Number 2, Mr. Moderator, even in our local hospitals in Nigeria, processes are not automated. Look at you, an ICT guru, an IT expert, between the consulting rooms and the pharmacy, or the pharmacy, the consulting room, and the laboratory. Simple land within hospitals. If you try it, you'll be amazed that they are still doing things manually. 3, case files, Mr. Moderator, are still hard copies. You talk, you explain, and there is no interconnection whatsoever. The 2, 3 medical doctors within the same hospital or with another hospital, they are not even interacting. 34, the gentleman that spoke last, you have the National Hospital here in Abuja. I remember once we were contacted for a telepresence platform. As you may know, a great deal of this medical tourism, the first part of it is consultation. All right? And if you have a good telepresence platform, pure ICT, you reduce the cost of return ticket to India, to Germany, to US. You know what? Corruption. I'm going to be blunt about it. that there will be insufficiency of trips abroad, especially by the one that my friend Ajiboye talked about, those from the public sector, government appointees, 1 billion. So corruption is an issue that must be addressed because there are some of those who want to travel abroad. And the last point I want to make, please, is this. In the Catholic Church, there's what we say, that a place of worship must evoke emotions of prayer, and a place of learning must evoke emotions of acquisition of knowledge. And a place of good health, a hospital must evoke emotions of good health. You go to a hospital, generators are not working, diesel is insufficient, air conditioning are not working, oxygen cylinders and all that. A lot of epilepsy in the whole arrangement. So, and go to the toilet, you want to enter the gents or the ladies, filth. So, a lot of Nigerian patients who are well-to-do, who could have stayed locally, there are lots of factors that discourage them. So this subject is a very serious one and must be handled holistically. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I want to commend the presenter for this bringing out these highlights for us. Sincerely, I'm also worried when we sit in conferences, discuss issues of national importance, and this keeps going on and on and on, and we are still where we are today. Somebody mentioned earlier that countries that don't even have oil but have adopted this technology, they have gone far, and they are no longer classified as underdeveloped. Now, he mentioned the issue of having maybe focused areas to sponsor, to devote money consistently, and then maybe in a sustainable way, bring us to where we can develop, we can confidently say we have developed maybe healthcare in this country. The first point you mentioned was leadership, digital leadership. You see, some few weeks ago, I think it was mentioned clearly that even our Aso Rock clinic doesn't have the necessary things, doesn't have the necessary facilities that will help us in this country. And somebody collaborated that view. A senior staff in that hospital said it. You see, and it worries me a lot because those of us in the industry, those of us, the IT guys, when we bring up proposals, ICT proposals that we think would be relevant to help us in this country, is dead on arrival. Because the people in leadership don't even understand what we're talking about. You know, whether they know or they don't want to do anything about it, where are we just deceiving ourselves? What we are discussing now, where will it end? Will neither promote this, will it take this to the leaders to understand where we're going? You know, so it's worrisome for some of us, the young people, those of us who are young in this country, and we look forward to when Nigeria will change. So sincerely, I want to say that if we must go forward in this country on some of the things we are discussing, let's come up with clear-cut roadmaps and forward it to our leaders to understand that some of these things we're talking about, we mean business. It's not just about sit here, do an academic exercise, and then go back and we'll call another year, we'll come again and we'll talk about it. So let something be done about it. I don't know how you want us to maybe to sort of impact the leaders to understand, to appreciate what we're talking about.
I want to ask a question. Okay, I wanted to ask a question, whether, because it seems like we may be separating the issues in the health sector from the underlying issue of education. Because I find it almost impossible to accept that we can have world-class doctors without technology that are coming from a system that has consistently promoted mediocrity for 30 years. We cannot have a system that has been, you would say that in WAEC in the past 30 years has not exceeded 23% of the people who take that exam and pass with 5 credits with English and math. 23% in 30 years. Yes. It's worse with NECO.
And of course, you know with JAM, we're admitting students who scored 20% and 25% in JAM into universities. Then they become doctors. How is it possible that you can produce doctors in a country that has been doing alternative to practical for 35 years? No pipettes, no titration, no biochemistry labs, nothing. And then you want... So the question I wanted to ask was this. What do you recommend? That we parachute technology into Nigeria as we currently have, because the hospitals that have the best technology are hospitals set up by people from the diaspora or people who are not Nigerians. All the radiological centers, all the places where you carry out those your extensive tests and all that are not owned by Nigerians. They are not even run by Nigerians. The people are not there. 3 weeks ago, the Senate was the University of Calabar, where they installed equipment, and they were told the equipment has not even been switched on once because